Cool. I think we are live. Great. So, if those who doesn't know me, my name is Ariel. I'm a health and life coach at healthandlifecoaching.co.uk. I'm actually founder of this website. Today, we're going to talk about fear and anxiety in these uncertain times, in these COVID times. Right? It's going to take about 40 minutes, maybe less. Let's see how it goes. So I'm gonna talk about 4 techniques, right? It's not gonna be 10, it's gonna be one. It's gonna just actually about right. 4 things that you can actually use it on your daily basis, whatever you are, just to make sure you are trying to get out of this fear and anxious time that has been created because of this coronavirus. Okay, so let's start straight ahead with the first one. If I can only make this happening. There you go. First one. Okay, the first technique is stepping back technique. Okay, what's actually stepping back? Stepping back is the ability to step back from the emotional reaction you're experiencing. So you might have a bit of nervous sometimes that, well, I have to wear a mask, or I have to have gloves, or all this stuff, and we are trying to be in kind of emotional state, and we are, and at some point we need to find out how to get out of it. Okay, uh, so the first part of stepping back is dissociation. It's a fancy word, but actually it's not that fancy. I'm gonna talk about this in about a few minutes. And the second part is shrinking. Okay, so these 2 parts are actually those components of stepping back, which is the ability to get out of this emotional state, because sometimes we are in this state, especially now. So let's dive in to dissociation. You see this gentleman, left bottom corner? It's a bit sad, but not happy at all. And sometimes it's happening. And we want to go to this state where we see this guy in the central, okay, up corner, happy face, open hands, relax. So how are we going to do it? Be able to step out of yourselves for a second. This is actually dissociation. So if you are in the States at the moment, at some point over your day, we need to go out of it for a second, okay? And how are we gonna do it? We need to find a neutral spine where your emotional charge starts to go away. So physically, if you are sits on the chair, binge Netflix, or staying at the place where actually you have this emotional state, you can just stand up and go away for a second from this place physically, okay? If you still feel it at the same time, go further away from that place. You can take a even walk. You can go outside. You might say, well, we cannot go outside. Yes, we can. Now we can. So it's all about finding this neutral spot where your emotional charge starts to go away. Okay. You might say, well, it's not that easy. This is everywhere. But yeah, this is everywhere. But you can always find the place where you can actually find some peace. So that's the way you can walk away from that position for a moment. And if that is still happening, well, just go further. Okay, don't stay on the place with these arms down, because it won't help you. Dissociation is all about going out a bit further outside where the place of the emotion charge is, and start to feel more neutral, right? So as I said, if you feel this quite heavy at some point in one place you're sitting, just move away. Go for a little walk, go outside, face some space. And by that time, those negative thoughts with fear and anxious time will fade. All right. So this is the dissociation. Second part, shrinking. This is the great technique which I use it and I recommend to use it for everybody. How does it work? So fear is quite often our imagination. Okay, you can imagine a fear. Very rarely you have a tiger on the street chasing you down. Okay, but you might have some crazy bikers, on your streets everywhere. So how is fear working? It just is quite big. It is quite big. Usually, just all the time is growing. So if we want to reduce this fear, we often turn fear into an object. Okay, so if anxiety and fear is in our imagination, because if you open your body, you won't find anything cause anxiety. You will find heart, liver, different parts of the body, but you won't find anxiety. It's often in our mind, right? So imagine your fear and turn it into an object. So you are afraid of something and turn it into, for example, iceberg. Okay. Sometimes I have this kind of iceberg in my head, and this is my fear. And how I'm gonna shrink it. The same as it grows slowly, day by day. The same you can shrink it. So imagine your iceberg and now shrink in half size. It will take a time, won't take seconds, sometimes will take even a minute or more. But yes, try to shrink it half size, okay? So the iceberg actually is melting on two halves. It will take some time, might take a couple of minutes. And then shrink it again. So it goes down. The same of the snowball of this fear is growing, we can actually shrink it. So it's now even smaller, okay? The fear is getting smaller. We are focusing our mind to shrinking again. And we do it again. And we do it again, shrinking again. So it's melting down. And we do it again. As it goes, it might take more than a few minutes, but this how it's fading away until it's a little snowflake on your hand that eventually melt down, and we can just blow it out into the air like that. That's it. That's how the iceberg of big ice is melting. It's going down to this little teeny weeny snowflake, which we can blow it into the air. All right? That's shrinking. So stepping back, it's all about dissociation and shrinking. So you can move away from the place of this emotional charge for a second, and we can get this fear into an object, and then we can just shrink it down. That's stepping back from this emotional state. First technique. Cool. Right. So let's dive to the second one, which is also a very good one. And it's called reframing. Okay. Reframing. So what we're trying to reframe? We are trying to reframe our three main fears that everyone has it. Okay. It's not like I created those fears. Those fears existed. It's been created in our minds for billions of years in human beings. And yeah, psychologists wrote about that. So these are the three main fears that we are trying to reframe. I'm going to start with the first one. So first fear that everyone has it is a fear of afraid of the loss. Okay, we might have a afraid of loss of, we might lose a bit of health, a bit of patience, a bit of everything. Now we might lose, a lot of things during this COVID pandemic. And that's the fear. That's the fear number one, afraid of the loss of something, right? So how are we gonna reframe this fear? Because this fear won't vanish straight away. We just need to be aware of it. So how we reframe it? We can ask ourselves, did I really lose it? How is my health? I'm here, I'm still healthy, I'm totally capable of everything. And I do perspective check saying, okay, I haven't lost anything yet. I mean, I still have health. This is how we try to reframe it, okay? To do this perspective check. And what we're trying to gain here, we're trying to change loss into a gain, from fear to confidence. And how are we going to do it? We can ask ourselves questions like, what else is possible? So if you have this fear, oh, I'm going to lose this, I'm going to lose that. Yeah, it's actually, that's the one part. But what's on the other side? What else is possible? This is how you can turn fear into an opportunity, okay? And then you can turn your fear into an action. Because the only way you can diminish the fear is just take massive actions. If you take actions, the fear disappeared. If you step back from this emotional moment that you are, go for a walk, do some exercise, read a book, whatever you like, you took an action. And then suddenly, the fear of afraid of loss in your mind is vanishing. That's the reframe of afraid of loss, fear number one. Okay? Great. You are doing great, guys. Fear number two, it calls hardship. The other way is called process pain. What you have to do is going to be too hard, okay? Everyone has this fear of hardship. Yeah, it's hard, okay? We need to admit it. This fear of hardship is there because it's not easy suddenly to work from home or wear a mask all the time and gloves and have, half plane empty in July where everybody should traveling fully. So how are we going to frame it? Accept the present state. Yes, it is hard, okay? Decide to deal with it instead of being resistant to present state. Instead of walk away of it, yeah, we need to accept it. This is the new reality. This is the present state. And yes, you have won many battles before. You can remember, there was some hardship time, but you overcame it at some point, right? That's why you're still here, you're still successful, you're still doing the things you want to do. Bring joy and inspiration to it. That's how you frame it. The hardship. It's all about accepting the present state rather than being resistant to the present state, okay? That's how you frame the fear number two, which is the hardship. Great. And what's the last fear? Everybody has it. That's the fear of the outcome pain, okay? It's always like, okay, when is it gonna end? When is it gonna be on the side? What's gonna happen? We don't know, Maybe I'm gonna be in a position that I don't know the future. What's on the other side? This is actually the critter brain working, I'm just gonna explain the parts of what actually critter brain is. So all human being has three brains. The most outer brain, which is the cortex brain. You have the limbic system, responsible for emotion, and you have this very inner brain, critter brain, or definitely say brain stem, where it's responsible for your basic survival mode. That's why, at the beginning of this pandemic, there were a lot of items missing in the shops because everybody getting nuts, saying, I need to survive, I need to buy this, I need to buy that, because no one knew what's the outcome of it. And as we go slowly, then we try to obviously ease the situation of the survival mode and going back to normal. And how you frame it. understand the part of this brain, critter brain, and ask yourself, what can I engage with? How can I give my 100% so I can create the outcomes that I want? Okay. If by doing nothing, nothing changes. Okay. So if you do nothing, if I do nothing, or we everybody do nothing, pretty much we can see what's going to happen as an outcome pain, as an outcome, yeah, fear, saying, well, maybe I should do something about it. Okay, what I can do to create the outcomes that I want. So this is how you overcome this pain. You anticipate what's going to happen, and you expect it, and you take action from the fear number one. So that's the reframing. It's all about changing the loss towards the gain. Everybody can say it. Okay, the glass is full, empty. If you're trying to reframe, yeah, but the glass is, is half full, not half empty. Okay, and where we can find the opportunity to turn this fear into the action. Yes, we can accept it's going to be hard, fine. But if we can give our best 100% and we can create the outcomes that I wanted, surely we're going to have the outcome that we wanted. Okay. Cool. Great stuff. So that's technique number 2, reframing. Go from the loss to gain. Right. Number 3, resourcing from self. It's a great technique. It's to create change within ourselves. Okay. Borrowing the successes, victories from the past to feel more resourceful in the moment of emotional state. So it reminds you that you are totally capable of facing anything and that you are able to follow through. It's all about having those moments in the past that you overcame. You might be in the position, we might be in the position that, well, something went wrong. We're not talking about like number 10, something went wrong. It's like number 5. And, from the level of 1 to 10. And we try to sort it out. For example, well, I had this opportunity, I took it, or I didn't feel that great, but I did those actions that helps me to follow through. And what resourcing from self is just stepping into a moment you overcame and go out to use it into the presence. So you can just remember the moment that you overcame the problem, the situation, and you have this success. Go to this moment in your mind, just borrow it and bring it to the present, right? It's like going out to it. Yes, I did it, and come back to present. It's all about to keep those negative emotions fading away and bring this success from the past into the present, all right? It's like borrowing success from the past and bringing it to the present. Because we are full of great resources in ourselves. We've fought many battles and we won many victories. That's why this resourcing from self is so great as a technique, because we can just borrow it, bring it back to the present. Okay. You can ask yourself the questions like, what is a difficult time you overcame? What thoughts you had to overcome it? What positive feelings it created, and which strong actions you took to be on top of the mountain. So definitely you had some moments difficult, you overcame it. And then you had the thoughts, and thoughts created feelings, and feelings created actions. And this is how you did it, right? You can ask yourself as well, what is that you were believing about yourself and gave you that courage to follow through? because the courage comes from belief, right? Every human being needs have some beliefs. I'm not talking about religious stuff, but I'm talking about beliefs that you were able to have this courage to follow through. And remember the moment that you overcame in some difficult times and borrow it to this moment right now to use this resource from self, from the past. All right? Number 3 technique, resourcing from self. Great stuff. You are doing great, guys. You can also ask yourself, what was the quality that you developed at that moment? Okay? The quality of, yeah, I'm able to do it. I'm able to overcome this problem. And you did it. So now it's all about coming back to it and using the presence, especially now in these uncertain times. Right? Cool. Let's go to number 4, the technique called parts work. This is a very great stuff I'm talking about. It's something that is created by a serious psychologist and explain how actually it works. So parts work, how I can say it in easily. You know, if we introduce ourselves, let's say, my name is Ariel or my name is John, well, actually, it's not like a one person inside. You know, we are built inside with plenty of parts, thousands of them. This is how our mind works. So you have a series of thoughts. I'm okay part, okay? And you have on this side, you have happiness, confidence, fulfillment, gratitude, ability to follow through, and capable of doing things like, you know, job, life balance, meditation, relaxation, yoga, all this stuff. These are the series of thought that this is your part of it. For some of us, it's a strong part. For some of us, maybe not that strong. Okay. So on the other side, we have a series of thoughts. I'm totally screw part. Okay. This is where, well, actually, I'm not capable of doing this stuff. Well, it's not enough, or it's not the time. Oh, maybe I procrastinate a bit. I wait for another time. These are all these thoughts on the other side, where we often got fear. Okay, we get a lot of stress to it. Yeah, and we have anxious moment. We have anxiety because we are on this part that actually I'm not feeling well. This is how it is in terms of our mind. It has parts. Some of the good, some of the bad. This is like a seesaw, okay, where children are playing, you know, the ground. You got anxiety seesaw, we can call it, okay? So these thoughts of positive, negatives, how the seesaw is working in our minds all the time. So to do anxiety really well, you have to have great imagination, okay? Snowball growing effect. So the part of it, negative thoughts, it grows from time to time. It's not gonna grow from minutes to minutes. It sometimes grow from days to days, from months to months, from years to years. Yes, sometimes you need medication to eventually stop that, which is not a good idea, but sometimes it's just the way. So you got this snowball growing effect of this anxiety because we have great imagination that we imagine that it's happening. And as I mentioned before, if you open your body, you won't find anxiety. You'll find heart, you won't find liver, but you won't find something called anxiety. Anxiety actually is a series of negative thoughts that we keep on believing, okay? Usually things that haven't happened yet. Again, we're coming back to the part of the belief system, okay? Because what we believe usually is happening to us. So it's a thinking process between being okay and I'm totally screwed. Anxiety. I'm okay, I'm not okay, totally screwed. So this is seesaw with the being okay and I'm totally screwed. It's called parts conflict, where those conflicts are trying to kind of crash working, not working, being on both sides. Okay. So if we can put the momentum on the side of being okay, this is how we can decrease, lessen the anxiety, right? So if we are only aware of it, that we have a lot of parts in our mind, we are built of 1,000 parts physically and mentally. And if we can just put the momentum on the side of being okay, and if you can just realize it, yes, I need to put my stuff on the being okay side, because this is how I gonna feel better. This I'm gonna create the belief that yes, I can actually overcome all states of this pandemic, and I'll be okay, right? So here's the thing: how I'm gonna shift the momentum, anticipate the good things to come. This is something that you can practice. Anticipate the good things to come. We all can see now that it's much better with the flights now. At some point, maybe at the end of the July, August, people will be traveling at the pace, maybe not that as before, but from totally banned and lockdown, we are going to a better place we are. And this is how we can, being on the being okay side, anticipate good things to come, right? Find a part of yourself that can anticipate something wonderful. For example, I'm going to show you my little plant, which I grow here. So you see, it was just a little teeny, small little thing, little seed, and now look, it's growing. It's a plant. At some point, I put it in the real garden, and it's going to be there. Sometimes our good things are really, really small, and at the moment we might have these negative parts being on these sides, and we try to find, even if it's a little part in ourselves that is, yeah, I think it's going to be good. I think it's going to be okay. And then it grows, as I can just show you, plant is growing, everything is flourishing at some point. This is how we try to shift the momentum, by anticipate the good things to come, right? Cool. And we can ask ourselves, what are the thoughts that coming with feeling that I'm okay? Anticipation of the good things to come versus the negative thoughts, okay? So all starts with the thoughts first. And thoughts create feelings. Well, actually, I feel okay. What are the feelings that comes with perception of being okay? And if I feel better, what I do next? So I go from thoughts, feelings, I go to actions. And actions, what actions I'm taking, okay? Doesn't have to be a massive one. You can do 2 little actions. You don't have to start doing 7 times exercise a week if you haven't before. Little step, 1% at a time. Because only with little steps we can build the momentum. Because if we're gonna start do everything at once, we're gonna get at some point tired, and our recruiter may say, "Oh, hang on a minute, I'm in a survivor mode. You need to chill out because you just did too much." So sometimes it takes times to take those actions. Right? It's all about building the muscle exercise. It's like a mental gym. Actually, your cells in your brain are not that different from your muscles. You need to train them. You need to exercise them. You have to create the mental gym. You need to practice this better feelings, going to the actions, the being okay part on the seesaw. So which side of the seesaw is better? Of course, this one is being okay. It's all about practice the better feeling thoughts. Okay. If we wanna practice the feeling thoughts, the better feeling thoughts, then we're gonna be on the side, on the being okay side of the parts. And from the little seed, we can grow. And if we grow this being okay side, the fear, the anxious, the stress will diminish, right? So that's the parts work technique, to be aware that we are full of parts. And usually the anxiety is on the side of being negative. So we need to seed in ourselves the little tiny seed of something good which can grow. And this is how we put it, fear away. Yeah. Practice the better feeling thoughts. Cool. Great, great, magnificent. So that was the technique number 4. Let's recap, okay? I know your time is very, very valuable, and we don't want to overload it with information, because information today is everywhere. You can Google everything. It's all about, absorbing the enough information that you can actually use it in practice, because this is how you learn. You can learn a lot. You can have a knowledge, but knowledge is not the power. Knowledge is information. Action actually is a power. If you can actions from it, that's actually where it puts you through forward. Okay. Not only the knowledge, because knowledge is information that can be only written somewhere in your mind. Say, okay, it's not about the knowledge is the power. It's about taking an action. That's actually the power, your personal power. Let's recap. Number 1 technique, stepping back. So you remember dissociation, going out of the moment from this emotional state, and you got shrinking. If you haven't just had this big, snowball effect of this ongoing fear, it's like growing. Okay, say at some point, hey, if I can create a big snowball, I can also shrink it down. So it's all about shrinking, going out of it. If you feel that stress this moment, you need hang on a second. I need to kind of change the position for a moment, physically and even mentally. You can just change it. Say, okay, it's time for me to move from this state. That's technique number 1. Reframing, okay? 3 main fears: loss, hardship, outcome. Yes, they are there. It's all about how we can reframe it, okay? How we can change loss into a gain. Asking ourselves, okay, that's the worst case scenario, but the worst case scenario usually never happens. So what else is possible? Yeah, the things will go back to normal. Yes, there might be some different regulation, but yes, we're gonna be fine. We're always gonna be fine. This is how we are created. We always overcame all the problems. Reframing. Change loss into a gain, right? Number 3 technique, resourcing from self. Yes, you've won many battles before, many of them, and you are capable of doing it. Even now in this pandemic, you can just borrow it this moment from the past. Just borrow it, bring it to the present. Borrow it, bring it to the present. And this is how you have the feeling of, yeah, I'm being okay. And the last one, number 4, parts work. Yes, so all of us, we have plenty of parts. We might say yes, we might say no, we might say I don't know. But it's all about feeling this awareness and being aware that, if I want to be on the being okay side, I need to practice the better thoughts feeling. If I think like that, I create that feeling, and from this feeling, I create those great actions. All right, cool. So that was the number 4 technique, parts work. So you got 4: stepping back, reframing, resourcing from self, parts work. Great stuff. Great stuff, guys. You are doing it great. So before we go, you can always visit me on my blog, on my website, my Facebook. First of all, thank you all for joining me today on this session. It was a great session. Thank you for listening. If you would like to have a session with me one-to-one, you can always book it on my website. But yeah, I just want to say, yeah, you're doing great. You have a lot of power inside you, and you can always use it to overcome everything you like to. All right, cool. I'm gonna now stop sharing, and I'm gonna switch off the recording. Where is the recording? Okay, and